You know, we often think our future gets shaped by these huge, life-altering decisions. But what if the biggest threat to the life you want isn't some massive mistake, but something much, much quieter? Just a single thought that whispers, I'll do it tomorrow. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden cost of that delay and talk about how to reclaim your single most valuable asset, your time. And that's the trap, isn't it? Laziness hardly ever shows up looking like a big scary monster. It disguises itself as comfort, as well-deserved rest, or just a totally reasonable decision to wait a little bit longer. It feels safe, it feels easy, but while we're kicking back and feeling comfortable, something else is quietly happening under the surface. Because here's the absolute kicker. While you're saying later, life doesn't hit pause. Not at all. Time keeps ticking, opportunities just float on by, and those tiny little problems, they start to grow. So, what's the actual bill that comes due when we constantly put things off? Let's get into it. To really get this, let's look at the story of a young man named Taryn. Now, Taryn wasn't lazy in the way you might think. He was actually really smart. And honestly, that was a big part of the problem. This is what you'd call the clever mind trap. See, Taryn used his quick mind not to figure out problems, but to find the shortcut, to find the path of least resistance and just escape the effort. He was clever at avoiding work, not at actually doing it. It's this tricky little trap where your own intelligence becomes a tool for comfort instead of a tool for growth. Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. For every single task, there was a later. Fix the basket? Later. Clean the tools? Later. He lived in this little bubble where the conditions were just never quite perfect enough to get started. That perfect moment was always somewhere off in the future, a tomorrow that, funnily enough, never seemed to show up. And here's the warning he got way early on. His father saw exactly what was happening. He got it. He understood that strength isn't built when you're comfortable. It's built by facing the hard stuff. By always choosing the easy way out, Taryn wasn't just avoiding a chore. He was literally training himself to be weak. So what happens when this kind of mindset crashes into the real world? Well, this is where we see the hidden bill of delay start to add up. This is how all those little "I'll do it laters" begin to compound into one giant disaster. You can just see the dominoes fall in here, can't you? It all started with one simple job: clear the irrigation channel. But on day 1, he's late. On day 2, he does just enough to get by. And with each passing day, the problem gets a little bigger, and his half-hearted efforts just can't keep up. By day 7, the consequence is staring him right in the face. The family's crops are dying. But the cost wasn't just some dead plants. No, the real bill was human. That failed harvest meant his family wouldn't have the money for his younger sister, Lena, to stay in school. His comfort, his little delays, they were directly threatening her entire future. See, procrastination is never a victimless crime. This is the incredible wisdom from the village elder, Master Anne. Procrastination doesn't wreck your life with one big, loud explosion. It's way more subtle than that. It's like a series of tiny, quiet cuts that you barely even notice, all while you're telling yourself, "I'm just resting," or "I'm just waiting for the right moment." And that was Taryn's turning point. Seeing his sister's future on the line, he finally got it. His personal comfort wasn't free. It was being paid for by the people he loved most. The pain had sent the bill. And just like that, the illusion shattered. For the first time, he saw his delay not as harmless rest, but as something truly cruel. Okay, so how do you break a cycle like that? It can feel totally overwhelming, right? But the solution, well, it's often way simpler than we think. It's all about the power of small steps, a method perfected by a man named John, who turned his life around, not with some huge leap, but with simple, daily consistency. For John, it all kicked off with this one simple sentence from his uncle. No long, boring lecture, no big speech, just 4 little words that got stuck in his head and forced him to ask a really powerful question. What am I actually doing with my time? So John didn't try to change everything all at once. He started with this super simple, totally manageable 3-point plan. First, wake up early. Just get a head start on the day. Second, read 1 page, just 1, to get some perspective. And third, write down 1 idea, to get to know his own mind. These weren't massive commitments, but they were consistent. And that consistency is what builds real momentum. Along with those good habits, he created this filter for his life he called the rule of usefulness. He just started cutting out the noise, the endless chatter, the mindless scrolling, the people who just drained his energy. This wasn't about being rude, it was about protecting his focus and, you guessed it, his time. All right, let's bring these lessons back to Taran. Armed with this new way of thinking, he starts his own journey of small, consistent actions, and we start to see this fundamental change happen, both inside him and out. Master Ann gives him this powerful line to live by. All those half measures that were good enough to get by, to keep him comfortable, they were completely useless when faced with real-world consequences. This forced Taran to raise his own standard from just getting by to actually getting it done right.
But the most important change of all, the real game changer, happened inside his head. He stopped asking the classic procrastinator's question, how do I get out of this? And he started asking a brand new one. What's the cost if I avoid this again? That one little shift, it changes everything.
And the result? Well, how other people saw him completely flipped. He went from being known as the clever one who was great at dodging responsibility to something so much more valuable. Someone you could actually trust. He earned respect not because he was witty, but because he was reliable. So what does all this mean for us right now? The stories of Taran and John, they're not just stories. They're basically roadmaps, and they all lead to one simple but incredibly powerful conclusion. This is the ultimate lesson from John's entire life. Time is the one thing, the one resource that is absolutely 100% finite. Once a moment is gone, it is gone forever. We protect our money, we protect our stuff, but do we protect our time with that same level of intensity? And that leads to this final, really critical question for you to think about. What are you doing with your time? Are you building something? Are you learning? Are you growing? Or are you just letting your days slip away, getting cut into those small, quiet pieces while you tell yourself you're just relaxing? But look, here's the good news. You don't have to be perfect. You don't need some huge, flawless plan to get started. You just need to try. Pick one small thing. Read one page. Wake up 15 minutes earlier. Just take that first tiny step. That's all it takes to begin. Because so many of us, we're waiting for the perfect time to start, right? When we have more energy or more money or more motivation. But as we've just seen, that perfect time, it never actually shows up. The best time is, and it will always be, right now. Your future self is counting on you to start today.